Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about how come some traits are more common in certain species. So there are so many species of birds, but nobody's going to get confused with a pigeon and an ostrich because pigeons have certain traits and ostriches have certain traits, right? So how come each species has certain traits that's special and more common to their own species? Well, what happens is natural selection happens. So, for example, there's some mice, and some mice can be born with black color, and some mice can be born with white color. And in this environment, right, these white mice are getting killed off. How come? Because the bird can see them easier, right? And so natural selection is when nature selects who survives and who dies based on the trait that you have. Did the mice get to choose their trait? No. Here's another example. The rabbit wants to eat some potatoes, and so there's some potatoes that grow below ground and some potatoes that grow above ground. How come some potatoes are growing below ground and some potatoes are above ground? It's based on their DNA. They didn't get to choose this trait. And so the potatoes that grow above ground, they're getting destroyed by the rabbit. The rabbit eats them. While the potatoes below ground, they survive. So that's natural selection, when the environment chooses who gets to survive and who gets killed. Here's another example. Let's say you are the predator and you want to eat the food. What food are you going to be able to see better? In this environment, the white ones blend in, and so you can easily eat 3 and 4, right? Because you can see them very easily. So if the environment changes, then will white be the best color? No, right? It depends on the environment. That's why it's called natural selection. So you can see here, being white was not good in this background, in this environment, right? Because being white let you get seen easier and killed you off. So the next word we're going to go over is fitness. So if you don't get killed and you survive, you're able to continue to reproduce. So these mice that survived, all 3 of them, right, they can go have sex, right, because they're alive. And when they have sex, what gene is going to be more common? Well, there was a gene that led these mice to become dark in the first place. And so if there's more dark mice that are surviving, then these dark mice are going to have more babies that are also dark and as well because of the genes that they pass on. Are there going to be some white mice? Yes, because just because you have a certain gene doesn't mean that you pass it on. It's a 50-50 when you have sex, right? So overall though, most of the baby mice are going to be black in this environment because those are the mice that are surviving. So mice that reproduce, high fitness. Mice that don't reproduce, like the white ones, low fitness. So same thing for potatoes. The potatoes that are eaten, low fitness. And finally, adaptation is the final vocabulary word. So how come some mice were able to survive and some others were not? These black mice, they had an adaptation. These black mice, they could adapt to the environment. How come these black mice could adapt to the environment? Because they were born with this trait. They were born with this color. And so these mice, they could adapt because they were born with the adaptation. This mice over here, was it born with the adaptation? No. It did not have the gene to make the black trait, and so it could not adapt. Right? So this mouse over here that says, oh no, is this mouse going to be able to change its color to black? No. Is this mouse going to be able to adapt to the environment? No, right? Because it was not born with the gene to become dark. So it does not have the adaptation. Same thing for over here. These potatoes, they have the adaptation. They can grow underground. This potato over here, can it choose its traits and grow underground? No. The genes that's inside of it was given to it when it was born, and so it cannot change its traits. That's the adaptation that it's not able to get because it can't change its genes. These 2 potatoes have the adaptation because they were born with the gene. Okay, so in summary, natural selection causes some genes to become more common. How come some genes are more common? Because those without the certain genes are getting killed. and those with a certain gene in that environment are surviving and reproducing and passing on a certain gene, right? And so that's why certain species, they have certain traits because those genes are the ones that are commonly getting passed on.